Another Agatha Christie picture that I watched over Christmas was Evil Under the Sun, the direct sequel to Death on the Nile. And this time Poirot is on holiday in the country of Tyrrhenia, which definitely isn't in Yugoslavia. And while there, he gets mixed up again with a bunch of people, all of whom have a particular grudge against a certain individual, who then dies, so everyone is suspected, even though this occasion everyone has an alibi over who killed the beautiful but arrogant showgirl played by Diana Rigg. The tone is quite different from Death on the Nile. It's much more of a humorous production. And this really counts against it, I felt. There are scenes that feel much more lightweight, that don't need to be there. There's a sequence where Poirot goes swimming, where he wades out to knee level in the water, walks backwards and forwards doing the arm actions, and then just walks back to shore and then shakes the imaginary water out of his ear. And it's a funny bit. It's a very Jacques Tati bit, but it really has no place in an Agatha Christie story, particularly if it's meant to be a straight murder mystery. It also felt weirdly short. It takes about an hour to get as far as the actual murder, as so much time is spent building up the characters and the relationships between them. But once it's established that all the characters have their own alibi and that they all have an explanation, Poirot suddenly leaps to the conclusion, and the film is almost over. It's I think a full half hour shorter than Death on the Nile, even though it has the same number of characters. So it feels a very rushed production that the second act seems to last only about 5 or 10 minutes. A few names apart, it doesn't have quite the star wattage of Murder on the Orient Express or Death on the Nile. The names of some of the other main actors are not immediately street on. Nicholas Clay, for example, and Jane Birkin aren't quite huge stars, although it's counterbalanced by having Diana Rigg and Maggie Smith and James Mason. Then there's Quilly, who's quite prominently credited, was more of a theatre actor and wasn't very well known. So it's not a misfire. It's not bad by any means, and it's, again, very elegantly plotted. It looks beautifully ravishing, and in fact the setting was changed from the book being in Devon to then setting it in the Balkans, where you can have this beautiful sunshine and it really lives up to the title of being under the sun, under this oppressive Mediterranean heat. But it does show that maybe the steam was going out of this series of Christie adaptations already, and in fact the film was something of a box office failure and led to then 3 Christie adaptations for television with Ustinov, and then eventually a third film in 1988 called Appointment with Fear, which I haven't seen, which is directed by Michael Winner, so it's bound to be tasteful. Overall, I mean, I saw Murder on the Orient Express some years ago, and I enjoyed it a great deal. I enjoyed Death on the Nile a great deal. Evil Under the Sun is a lesser work, I feel, because it doesn't have the class of the previous films, and it doesn't have the right tone. Murder mysteries, I think, at their best need to be taken seriously. Even Columbo, for all its humour, is a serious mystery, and this one is just too lightweight, and deciding to have the music of Cole Porter as your score indicates that this is a lark and not a murder.